I think what was so important was the community I met here. My teacher, Kate Forbes, was my Shakespeare performance teacher at Fordham my senior year. She was certainly a mentor to me, and when I graduated, she was like, Kelley, there's this company called the Acting Company, and part of their mission is to be a bridge for students, from students to professionals, and to like teach young actors how to bridge that gap. And she was like, I'm gonna, like, you should write my name, you should write to them, put my name in the letter, say that, you know, she was an alum of that company. And so I did that, and that was the beginning of my professional career. So it was directly linked to my relationships to the faculty. I've had an interesting journey working from stage to screen, because most of my career when I first got out of Fordham for several years was entirely in the theater, which I love. I'm like a theater animal. You know, it was like so many experiences that I'm so grateful for, that I relish, but I had logged probably thousands of hours on stage by the time I began working in front of the camera. I had done a couple of on-camera things before I booked this role on this HBO series called The Gilded Age, which was really the largest role I had booked on television to that point. The scope of it really set in, the sort of financial scope of the project, and really set in. And I remember saying to myself, to calm myself down, I remember saying, like, Kelley, you already have everything you need. Just because this isn't like the medium that you have logged the most hours in, doesn't mean that all of those hours aren't in your body. And like that wisdom is there, and that training is there, and that experience is there. So just like take a breath into your diaphragm and trust that you already have everything you need. One thing that I still tell myself all the time, that I would tell her, is to trust the timing of your life. Trust even the difficult moments, because they're thresholds. They're these periods when you're going to break through to something else, and even if you can't see it and that's not clear, just trust that that's going to happen. It's not a typical career, you know, you're like constantly, it's circular more so than it is like a ladder. And I think people think it's like a ladder, and that's not really how it works, you know. So you are constantly having to ask yourself, like, is this making me happy? Is this satisfying? And am I doing the work I set out to do? How has that changed? How have my values changed? All that stuff. I would encourage them to always be working at the edge of what they know, and to be unafraid to fail, because they have this like wonderful vessel of a program to fail in and to grow from. To be able to do that outside of the glare of like the New York Times, like to be able to do that as a student and not in like under the scrutiny of like a professional, in a professional sphere, is like so awesome and can be so pleasurable. And you can learn so much about yourself. So I would just encourage the freshmen to like take every opportunity to do things that scare them. On a very practical level, it is challenging to enter like a freelance career in any field, because the structure you had at a university or at an institution is no longer there. Nobody's telling you, like, you know, wake up at this time and come to this class at 9 a.m. and then you'll do this, and then you have to do that for yourself. So one more thing that actually has to do with things that I do that I just want to mention is I was asked to come back to Fordham in 2019 and to teach the Shakespeare performance class when Stephen Skybell, who was the teacher at the time, was on sabbatical, and it was one of the most joyful experiences of my career. I had 8 students. It was a small class, but adore them all. You know who you are. I love you. I cherish them, and I've stayed in touch with a lot of them, and I've continued to coach some of them, whether for auditions or for grad school auditions. And that is something that I do. I do private coaching of students, and I love Fordham students, and I love this community. So I do just want to mention that as people are going out into the professional world, if they want to reach out to me about coaching, or they just need like a little mentorship, a little conversation, that I'm always happy to do that if I'm able to for my Fordham community. So I just want to mention that.